YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. Sunday, the 49ers lost to the Kansas City Chiefs 28-18 in what was just an ugly game overall from offense, defense. It's one of those things where, arguably Brock Purdy's worst game of his career. The 49ers just simply cannot beat the Chiefs. I don't know if they ever will with Kyle Shanahan. I don't know if there's even a silver lining this season. While they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, Brandon Aiyuk tore his MCL, his ACL, and he likely has other structural damage to his right knee. He suffered the injury, I want to say it was at some point in the third quarter. He got hit. In a way, I kind of thought it was a dirty hit. I mean, it's football at the end of the day, but the guy, as Brandon Aiyuk was kind of getting leverage falling down, he got hit right into his knee from another defensive back. I don't know. It is what it is. I mean, whether it's dirty or not, it happened, and that's not going to fix Brandon Aiyuk coming back this year. But they lost Brandon Aiyuk for the remainder of the year. Brandon Aiyuk likely won't even be back until midway through next season. That's how severe this knee injury is. And the 49ers just paid him $30 million a year, $120 million total contract extension in the offseason. So, that's that. That's brutal for the 49ers. I've seen a lot of 49ers fans on Twitter saying how the injury to Brandon Aiyuk isn't that big of a deal because he hasn't done nothing this year anyway and he's not playing up to his contract. Any 49er fan that says that simply does not know football because at the end of the day, teams still have to game plan for Brandon Aiyuk. Teams still have to take Brandon Aiyuk into account. Everybody knows that Brandon Aiyuk is one of the better receivers in the league. He's definitely a top 10 wide receiver when he's fully healthy and when he's playing like himself. Has he played like a top 10 wide receiver up to this point? No, he probably hasn't even played like a top 25 wide receiver. But the fact of the matter is just because he's not playing up to par and up to standard, that does not mean that the 49ers are it is what it is with him getting injured. That is a crushing loss to this team. It's one of those things where, Brandon Aiyuk's hurt now, and now the 49ers have to look to, Deebo Samuel and Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. I mean, Kittle said it best after the game. Jacob Cowing, Ricky Pearsall, those guys are going to have to mature very quickly in the NFL because they're going to be getting a lot of playing time now with Brandon Aiyuk hurt. The 49ers are in a world of trouble. That's what I do know. They're not finishing games. They're not beating teams that they should beat. They're not playing complimentary football with or without some of the injuries that we have. Good football teams and good coaches find ways to win with injuries. The Chiefs have done it all year. The common denominator, though, is having Patrick Mahomes. He's going to do just enough to win the football game. Patrick Mahomes played terrible on Sunday. The difference is Andy Reid is a much better coach than Kyle Shanahan, and he outcoached Kyle Shanahan. And that's exactly what happened on Sunday. I mean, Brock Purdy threw 3 interceptions. Purdy probably had his worst game of his career. Stuff needs to get fixed with him. The defense just looked very lazy and lackluster, I guess you could say, throughout the entire game. Didn't really show any effort whatsoever. This is a bad football team right now. They're 3-4 going into a Sunday night game versus the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't know. I mean, if Dallas is going to beat us, they're going to do it next week because Deebo Samuel's status is up in the air. Juwan Jennings may not be back for the Sunday night game. Now, without those guys, I still think the 49ers will beat the Dallas Cowboys because Dallas is a poverty franchise and they always have been. Um, but look, I mean, at the end of the day, this team did not do enough on Sunday to win the game whatsoever. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. That was one of the more worst. That was one of the more terrible defensive performance that I've ever seen the 49ers have. Definitely probably the worst and laziest defensive performance that they've had all year, without a doubt. I mean, they just couldn't stop anything. Offense could not get anything going. Dropped passes are continuing to be an issue. Jordan Mason seemingly can't get anything going in the run game. And when you don't have a run game and you're forced to throw the football, the 49ers have won a few games this year where they've been a one-dimensional team and the run game hasn't really been a factor. But when you can't get it going on offense or in the run game and in the passing game, how do you win a football game? So this team has a lot to work on. I don't know where this team goes from here. You know, they play Dallas next week, and then we have a bye week, and then we get into a really tough part of the schedule, probably the toughest part of the schedule that it's going to be all year. And again, I mean, through 7 weeks, we're 3-4. That's not ideal whatsoever. This team might lose 7 or 8 football games this year. I would be shocked if they didn't, to be completely honest. So the only reason I see this team getting into the playoffs is because of how bad the NFC West is. But yeah, man, I mean, the Niners are in a world of trouble. The Brandon Aiyuk thing is crushing. I mean, that's screw losing to the Chiefs. Brandon Aiyuk being injured is much bigger than a lost football game. Not only that, but for him to tear his MCL and his ACL, and then there to be, other structural damage to the knee, and now he's probably not going to be back until midway through next year. I mean, that's brutal. So the 49ers are going to have guys step up. They're going to have to find ways to win. Surely to God McCaffrey's back by, week 11, because we need a boost to this offense. And with Brandon Aiyuk going down and where this offense currently stands, we're in trouble. So, yeah, man, I mean, they just couldn't get anything going on Sunday. It was just a terrible performance from both sides of the ball. Kyle Shanahan will never beat Andy Reid. I think we kind of know that now. Again, it doesn't matter how bad Mahomes plays. It doesn't matter how bad the Chiefs play. The common denominator in all of it is that Andy Reid is a much better coach than Kyle Shanahan and has outcoached him in, 4 or 5 games that they played him, including Super Bowls. So, yeah, I don't know. But again, to the people out there saying that Brandon Aiyuk being injured isn't that big of a deal because he hasn't done anything anyway, you guys are idiots, man. Like, you have to take into consideration, too, that teams are still game planning for him. When Brandon Aiyuk is on the field, yeah, he hasn't been doing much, yeah, but at the end of the day, him being out on the field, his presence and whatnot, that helps other players get open. That helps other plays work. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Again, there's no silver lining, I don't think, where this team currently stands. Maybe then Christian McCaffrey coming back, but even with McCaffrey back, I don't think it fixes the 49ers' problems. I think it'll fix a few things, but I still think this team is not where it needs to be, and they're clearly in a Super Bowl hangover. And it's not even really that either. It's just more so of the injury luck. That's why last year, and I said this multiple times going into Super Bowl 58 last year, that's why last year was so important for the 49ers to win it. They had everything aligned perfectly for them to win the Super Bowl. They were healthy as can be. I know there were a few guys banged up going into the Super Bowl, but what more could you have asked for? You had the best roster that the NFL has seen in probably the last 10 years, and you couldn't get it done. And that there's nobody more to blame than Kyle Shanahan and the football team. So they had their chance. Now they're in a they're in a year now where they're coming off of a Super Bowl loss. Half of their team's injured. You have multiple playmakers out, and you're going into Week 8 with a 3-4 record, and you haven't even gotten to the toughest part of the schedule yet. So I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. This team is in a world of trouble, that's for sure. And losing Brandon Aiyuk and knowing that they're playing the way that they're playing, I don't know. I don't know how many games this team is going to win. And the only silver lining in this is that the NFC West is bad, and that we may get McCaffrey back, because I don't know. I don't even know if that's enough for the Niners to make the playoffs this year. Again, the only good news is that the NFC West is as bad as it is, and everybody's mediocre as all can get out in this division. So, yeah, I don't know. Niners dropped to 3-4. They're going into Sunday night next week versus the Dallas Cowboys. Again, the win-loss record does not mean shit to me. What matters to me is that Brandon Aiyuk is done for the year, and that he's not going to be back probably until the midway point of next year. So the Niners had their chance to win it last year, and they didn't. So I don't know why every Niners fan is acting surprised and whatnot, because, again, this is a Super Bowl hangover year. Multiple players are injured. Kyle Shanahan can't seem to finish games and beat bad teams. I don't know. I don't know where this team goes from here. But what I do know is that they're in big trouble. So let me know what you guys think of this game, or the game on Sunday, in the comments down below. Brandon Aiyuk's injury. Prayers go out to Brandon Aiyuk. He dealt with a lot of bullshit this offseason with fans kind of downplaying him and whatnot. And now he's hurt, and everybody's like, oh, speedy recovery, this and that. Like, the people saying that are the same type of fans that were bashing Brandon Aiyuk the entire season. So I don't know. Niners dropped to 3-4. They got Dallas next week. Let me know your guys' thoughts.